And we are live. Welcome everyone to Angular Beginners. Thank you for being here. Uh, we have our NG mom, Bonnie Brennan, who is going to be giving us a talk on Angular rendering options. Yay! We can't wait to have
Yay.
get what you have for us. We're really excited. So I guess I'll just open the floor to you, the floor to you, Bonnie.
Well, thank you. I am very excited, actually, for your initiative in starting this channel. I think it's going to be super helpful for a lot of people. So we started Angular Beginners. Actually, Oye asked for this channel a while back, and we had a workshop. And then you came to me and said, Bonnie, I want to meet every other week like the other channels do. And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. Love it. Love it. So I'm very excited to be here to help you kick this off. And I wanted to actually do a preview of some brand new material that I have not shared outside of the premium channels before today. So I hope you like it. I also want to mention, because I don't think that this presentation should really take a whole hour. I don't have slides. I just have straight code for you. What I did was I took some of the code that I created for my students and I put it into a stackblitz for you guys. And I'm going to walk through it with you. I think that there should be plenty of time for lots of questions, and I'm going to start with the easiest stuff because we're beginners, right? So I'm going to stop several times along the way, and I'm going to say if you want to ask questions, and then we'll just keep going and going, right? So I encourage you to ask questions along the way. I'm going to put you guys over here on my extra monitor and share the big monitor, and just let me know if it's too small. So I've got you on the big monitor over here. Okay, you see the stackblitz?
Yes, we do. Is the screen size okay for everyone?
So I'm going to go.
I think it's okay for me, but just to make sure it's okay for everyone.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so I've been working with my daughter for a while, and she's very visual. So she's kind of trained me to show you, right? And so I want to show you this stuff. So we're just going to pop out the UI so we can see it in a different. Let me make it bigger, so we can see it in a different window, right? So all I did was just take that, that sidebar over here and pop it out just so it's bigger. That's all. Okay, so what we've got, this is Angular version 12. Now we have Angular version 13 out. And those of you who have taken the advanced DOM manipulation course have seen this before, but there was one part that I couldn't get working because it's brand new, right? I love showing you guys brand new functionality. It's just cool, right? Anyway, so we're gonna get to that in a minute. If you've already been through the DOM course, I want you to hang with us because there's gonna be brand new stuff at the end that's very cool. That's just available with version 13. But I wanna start with this because not everybody's on version 13 yet. So I wanna show you how it works in the prior versions, and then we'll get to the, don't let me forget before we leave, we'll switch over and I'll show you the version 13. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna start with the easy stuff that I think a lot of us might already know, but I just wanna give you an opportunity to holler if you don't know this. So what I've done here is set up a couple of things and, like a choose your own adventure. So what we wanna do is say, what do you wanna do in your DOM first, right? If you want to show or hide a static content based on a variable, that would be the ngIf. And I'm assuming that we all pretty much know the ngIf. Can anybody, has anybody not used ngIf before? Let's just start with that, because I don't know how beginner we have beginners. We might have people who just walked in the door and haven't seen anything yet. So anybody want to see the ngIf? You want me to keep going? All right, we've all seen ngIf. Now the other one we've probably already seen as well. Now I want to say I did not know about this for the first couple of years that I was using Angular, but it's ngIf else, right? Have you guys seen this? So we have ngIf click, right, show, and then click show this other thing. Anybody not seen the syntax for ngIf else? All right, cool. Okay, so go ahead, Oye.
I was thinking, can we have the link to the stackblitz so that other people can follow along? What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, good idea. So yeah, I'm gonna drop it in the chat.
Thanks, Bonnie.
You're welcome. Rodwin, the premium channel. So I do. It's a good question because I have premium training, and this is just one little piece from the premium training. I'm starting another group in February, I think February 1st, and I'm about to open registration. So you'll see notifications for it on Angular Nation February 1st. We're just going to open it up. It's architect training, and then we had DOM training, and I'm combining them now into one course that's going to be opening on February 1st. We only have, I think we're going to have like 10 seats available, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, okay, so there's a stackblitz. Let's go. I've got the code showing now, and I want to just go into this page so that we can see where magic happens. Okay, and remember, a lot of this, I'm just using Angular material to show these accordions, right? So I don't really want to get into that too much because I want to show you actually the code that's in it. The Angular material is just to display everything. When I first started doing this, I was really, there's a lot, let me show you this part that was driving me a little nuts. The mat expansion panels and the headers and the titles, there was a lot of this, right? So I just made it dynamic so that we could focus on what's inside, because inside of each one of these is a little, is the actual code here, right? This click me is working code. So when we get, this is the cool part down here we're going to get to, right? But just to see how it's all set up, there's a working sample for each one of these. So you've got the ngIf. Let's just go look at it real quick. If we scroll down here, this is all the material header stuff. We scroll down to the bottom. Here's the templates, right? That's what we're looking for. So if you've got the stackblitz open, you want to go to the dynamic component.html and go to like line 120 and find the templates. This is where we're actually, this is what we're talking about, okay? So again, the ngIf is on line 138, and then the ngIf else, you can go to line 147, right? Okay, so stay with me here though. Okay, so the next one, if you want to show a few available options, you've got the ng switch, show 1, show 2, show 3, show 4, and the ng switch looks like this, right? Does anybody have questions about this so far? Yes, Tito, I can zoom in.
Okay, yes. Yeah, this is
now, the control flow options basically are just for organizing things, right? We're not talking about dynamic rendering yet. We're not rendering anything on the fly. The only thing that we're doing is like having like choices for them, right? If this else. This is just logic. This is just for organizing your flow. Now, and again, so I'm not showing you guys anything that you haven't seen before, right? But the syntax is here just so you see how everything's set up. Okay, now let's go back. Okay, so this is the easy part. We start with the easy part because we're in the beginner's channel. So this is the control flow. Go ahead, Giacomo.
Hello. I have a question about mostly performance between ngIf and ngSwitch. If we have more options, it's better a sequence of ngIf else or the ngSwitch, or they are equivalent from
this is such a good question. I love this question. Okay, so the problem is, like, if you have the ngIf else, right, then you're going to have ngIf else, if else, right? And so then you want to switch over to the switch case just because it's kind of easier to write and less code to have this if this, right? So if you, and it's basically just like a case in JavaScript, right? If you have a whole bunch of ifs, then the case is just a shorter syntax. It's just a shorthand way of writing it, right? So the switch is a natural progression of ngIf else. You with me? But once if we have a lot of them and it becomes ngIf else, right? Or if this, and then this, then this, like then it gets crazy. This is where your question is perfect timing, actually, Yakima, because if we want to show one of many available options, right? Because this is the thing, we show hide based on a variable, we show either of two based on a variable, we show one of several, but when we get into showing many, this is where we really recommend using those built-in and this is where I'm going to say, if you have a lot, exactly the question you just asked, it was perfect, thank you. Then you need to go down to the dynamic rendering options, because listen, this is really why I wanted to bring this to the beginners channel, because I have seen a lot of Angular developers, and I'm not talking about beginners. I'm talking about senior developers who are just hard coding a bunch of stuff because this part down here is maybe more advanced. It feels more advanced, but I don't want it to feel advanced because I want to show you the code. Okay, so let's go with these choices, right? Now we've got a template, the view only, or if you want to load in a component, right? And for each one of these, and Giacomo was talking about performance, which is good because we've got the easy way, which is just let Angular do it for you, super simple. But it's not going to be as fast performance-wise. Or the scalable way is to actually, and also the easy way is going to happen in the HTML, and the scalable way is going to happen in the TypeScript. So let's go look at these, right? Again, this is only the template up here, and this is the component down here. So if you want to pass in a template somewhere, let's just start with the first one, right? Template D1. These are the control flow, right? Control flow sections. So each one of these has a CF for control flow, section 1, 2, 3, 4. And then down here we have the dynamic. So D1, D2, and that's so that you can see between here and the code. So let's look at the first dynamic one. This is the, let me make this, let me close this actually. Why is it? Okay, so you see this ngTemplateOutlet here. I was just trying to say, why is it not all in one line? I want it to be all in one line. Let me just fix it here real quick. Okay, so you see this ngTemplateOutlet right here? This is it. This is all you need. And then the template that you're referencing here is, I just put it down here. Here it is, template D1, right? So you've got the ngTemplate tag. Again, this is all built into Angular. It's already there, right? So you've got this ngTemplate, and then you give it any name you want, and then you can pass in, this is optional here, but if you want to pass in a variable, right, then you can do that, and then just show it like this. This is a working copy of what this looks like. If you want to use this, just go steal it from the stackblitz. Super easy. I encourage you to steal this and use it for yourself. And this is just like, remember, Giacomo, you were saying if you have that switch case up here, you could even put this. I think I actually did use that in here. No, not in this one. You could just put it like inside of the switch case if you had a lot of code here, right? Because I just put something really simple, but maybe you have several and you have just a little bit more complicated stuff and you just want to clean up your page and organize it. Whatever is in that template is just going to go in the template outlet, right? So you take this little section right here and you stick it in that template outlet, and that's all that's happening here, right? Any questions so far on this one? All right. So you're just taking what's ever down there at the bottom of the page and you just stick it in there and you just use that little name. Okay, so that's the easy way here, right? This is the template, and there's where we passed in that name variable that comes from above. Here's where we passed in that hard-coded name, and then it popped into here. Yeah? Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing in a different way. And this is the scalable way. This is where you're going to have a little bit more control. So we've got the ngTemplateOutlet here, right? And now here we've got a button. And when we click the button, what we're going to do is we're going to call this create view. And it's basically going to do, like I said, the exact same thing. But since we don't have this ngTemplate here, we're going to have a container. And this is the container that we're going to put it in, right? So we've got that create embedded view. Collapse this. No, here, collapse this one. The scalable way. Now this one, when we create this embedded view, remember we passed in that variable Sam here, right? But in this one, we get to actually change it on the fly if we want. And the nice thing about this, now I will say, I use the switch case all the time because it's very simple, especially for teaching. So it's a great, you can use it, right? But if you find a lot of them on the page, this is where, and even with the template, like you kind of have to hard code it, but this is where you do it on the fly. this is very performant. So if you have a lot, if there's a lot going on, this is the one that you're going to want to use. That's why it's the performant way, because it's super fast, right? So you're going to make those on the fly. Now let's go look at the code in the TypeScript. Okay, so remember, we've got that click here, and we have to have this, we have to have a place to put it somewhere in here, right? So we've got that view container. Let's go look at the TypeScript that goes with this. Okay, the view container here, right? We need that, and that's in the that's the container that's going to hold the template, right? So we've got that defined up here, and then here is the create view that we're clicking on, and that's it. We take the template. Where is that? That's up here. We need a template. And see this view child, we can have a read it as a template ref, which means it will be a template that you can insert into a container, or you can read it as a view container ref, and it will be a container, right? So there's examples of both of these, and I always put lots of comments in there. You can also, if you want to, you can uncomment this stuff, and it will just show you if you want to look at this. Okay, so does anybody have questions about this code? Let me make it bigger right here. Let's just focus on this. Does anybody have questions about this code right here? No? Everybody good? Okay. Go ahead. I heard somebody come off mute.
If you can't actually speak, you can just type your messages in the chat, and then we'll read them out. Any questions?
Okay, so I'm going to keep going, but okay. So remember, the ngTemplateOutlet and the ViewContainerRef are basically doing the same thing, right? Because over here, woo, it's very big now. No, now it's very small. Okay. When we look over here, remember when we look at this, and this kind of helps me visualize it, because this, we're just taking the template from the bottom of the page and sticking it right here. Create embedded view replaces a template, or it appends a new template. That's a good question. Let me remember. I believe it appends a new template. And this is in my slides, Giant. I have this information in the slides, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I believe that it appends it. But actually, we can just, let me refresh this. We can just open up the, oh, no, we're in stackblitz. No, we're in the, I think we can do this. Let's find out. I think it will append it. Okay, then if we do it again, yeah, it's going to keep on making a new one. Pretty cool. Okay, so we've got the template outlet and we've got the view container ref, which again, these are the easy way and the scalable way to add a template dynamically. This is just a way you can put a template in there on the fly. And this one already has to be there somewhere in the page. And this one, you're going to pull it in with the TypeScript. But again, somewhere it's got to be defined for you to get that template. I think actually we have that template because we've got the view container here. But we need that here. Yeah. Here it is at the bottom of the page. That's the template that goes with the, so either way, we still have to have the template down there. This is the easy way and this is a scalable way, but we're just going to say, grab that template and put it up where we need it. Right? Okay. Why is it, I don't know why. I'm not sure that's right. I just made this last week, you guys. I told you it was brand new. I think that was a typo. Yeah. Okay. So, anybody have questions so far? We're going to move on to the next section. Yeah? Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Tito. Go ahead, Giacomo.
And just for to be sure, if we want not to append but to have just one, I think there should be on the container reference some clear, clean content, right?
I'm gonna look this up and get back to you, but I believe that Angular will append it. You want to put it in the same one?
Right now,
like Angular appends the element on the fly.
Yes, the default behavior is to append the new template created. If we want to clear the previous created template, I imagine on the container reference there is some clear function to delete what the container already has in.
Yeah, there's quite a bit that you can do dynamically. Once you've got that ViewContainerRef, then you're going to be able to, and it's a little bit outside of the scope of what we're doing here, but yeah, there's quite a bit. We have time to go to the docs. Yeah, there it is right there. You got the clear. And this is the create embedded view that we're looking at now. And then this is the create component that we're going into next. But you also have insert, move, all kinds of stuff. This is, it's pretty powerful. But I used Angular for a long time without really getting into these because I was staying up on this part up here, the ngIf and ngIf else and the switch case. I use that all the time. But this was just like, I just didn't really use it very much. Okay, so let's just go back over this. We've got the, where were we? The ngTemplateOutlet. We got the create embedded view. Now we're going to come down here and show the component. If you want to bring in a component on the fly, right? The easy way is going to be the ngComponentOutlet, which works exactly the way the one we just showed, right? ngTemplateOutlet, ngComponentOutlet. And these are basically the same thing. You're just loading in a template versus loading in a component. So let's look at the code, and it basically looks the same. This is loading in the card component. Now, the one thing I want to tell you about this, because it really is, look how easy that code is. That's it, load in the card component. The one thing I will say about this is if you're going to use this in the HTML, you have to have this in your TypeScript. All you have to do is import that file. See the card component here? And then you've got this. And I've got a comment in there to remind you that this has to be declared in order for that to work. But as long as you've got that one line of code in there for your import, then, whoops, wrong tab. Then that's it. Super, super easy. That is the ngComponentOutlet, and it works just like that. Hello from the card component. Yeah? All right. Now, last one. We're going to show it to you in V12. This is the cool one that just updated that has brand new functionality that I'm excited about. Okay, so this is the last one is basically the same thing the scalable way. We're going to take that same ViewContainerRef that we were looking at right here, and we're going to create a component. This is very cool because you're literally bringing this in on the fly, right? So when we want to create this component, we got the create component here, that click function. Let's go look at it here. So this lazy, you know what I love about this async await here? If you'll notice, I wasn't sure if this would work until I tried it, and it did, and it made me really happy. We're not importing this lazy here. We're not declaring it in the module. Look, we're not declaring it in the module. We're not even importing. We're not importing it anywhere. It's just sitting there. Nobody's paying any attention to it. And then we're loading it on the fly, which I just love. So there's the async await. You got that lazy component, right? Now you run it through the component factory resolver. This line right here is the part that they told us months ago. We had the Angular tooling team and Alex Rickabaugh, who I love. He's a frequent guest on Angular Nation. He said, you don't need the component factory resolver anymore because of Ivy. And I was like, really? That's cool. So he said, yeah, you could just do it on the fly. But I couldn't actually get it working and I was going crazy because the DOM course was opening and I'm trying to teach this and I couldn't get it working without the component factory resolver. So I called up Sonder and he said, it's not available yet. You have to wait. And I was like, but Alex said, well, Alex wrote it and got it in, but it takes a while. Anyway, so this is version 12. In version 12, we need, and everything before version 12, obviously, this is the way that it works, right? We get that lazy component, and then we use the component factory resolver, which obviously we have got the dependency injection here. We've got it injected, component factory resolver. And then once we've got that resolved, we just create the component. And again, we need a view container. The way that Alex explained this, let me scroll back up. I'm sorry I'm scrolling so much, you guys. The ViewContainerRef, the way he explained this, which I thought it was hilarious. And as soon as Sam gets a chance, we're going to have to get another visual out of her. Alex said that the ViewContainerRef is like the when you have this view, it's like a squirrel running around all over your page, and you need a cage to put it in, otherwise it'll go crazy. So the ViewContainerRef is the cage that you're going to put your component into, right? So you have to have a container to put it in. And then once you have the container, that view container there, then you then it's going to put your container right in there, right? Any questions here? And now if we look at it in the front, there's the lazy component, and we can just go as many times as we want and click, 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 and it's going to go crazy, right? So the nice thing about this is with this code, because remember, we start out with the ngIf and the ngIf else and all that, and then the switch case. But really, once you start getting into more complex interfaces, it's actually really nice to be able to pull some content out of thin air, right? So if you're waiting and you say, like, I have to have all these different choices, I have to have all these templates, and you're using the template outlet, you got like 10 different templates, you know, at the bottom of your page, and it's just getting ridiculous. This is really where you can get what you need and then spin it up dynamically, like just pull it out of thin air. I love that. Who doesn't love that? Okay, so like I said, this is not an hour-long presentation, so we do have time for questions. I don't know the answers to all of the questions, but I usually can figure it out or point you in the right direction. Does anybody have questions so far? Because I want to show you this exact same code now in version 13 without the component factory resolver. Go ahead.
Any questions? And I can mention earlier, if you can't actually come off mute, you can just drop a message in the chat and we'll read it out. So.
Okay, so we've got all of this. So the last one, or the version 13 is going to be the exact. Let me just collapse all of these. The exact same. This is the same. This hasn't changed at all. And I went ahead and put this here. So if you have the stackblitz open, you can go into the view and just click here to go and visit it. Let me make sure that link works. And it does. Okay, everything else is exactly the same. So we're just going to go straight back to this create component. Let's close this. We don't need to see that. Let's close this. Let's just make this bigger. And this is actually what I want to do is put version 13 down here and version 12 up here and show it to you before and after so that you can see exactly, right? So there it is with version 12, and there it is with version 13. And if you'll see, line 90 is the line that you don't need anymore. This one here now goes away. And obviously now you no longer need the dependency injection in the constructor either. How cool is that? Look at this. Async await, you pull it in, you don't even need to declare it or import it or anything, and then you just pop it right in there. Is that beautiful?
Yeah, and based on your reference where you use the squirrels running around, it seems like how Ivy has been able to just have everything on lock. So that's
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because he said the component factor resolver went away because we just don't need it anymore. Because if you know, and I don't want to get into explaining how Ivy works under the hood because Alex Rickenbaugh explains it much better than I do. But basically, in a nutshell, the way that Ivy works is it like creates this, it's almost like a JSON object, right? The way that it outlines everything and it tells you like you've got, you know, all these different elements and it kind of puts it into outline form. And so Angular then can read that outline form and it no longer has to have that component factor resolver. It's so much faster and more efficient this way that there's a lot of functionality that we can do now with Angular that we couldn't do before Ivy came along. So that's the nutshell version of it, that because of Ivy, we don't need that component factor resolver. So really this goes away. And this is what the code looks like now in version 13. And I just think it's beautiful and it's simple. And that's it. So that is the stackblitz there. You guys can use this right now in your own code. You can it's just one more line of code if you're not in version 13. But if you are, it's just cool. I love it. It's brand new. And it works like that. I think it's beautiful. And all of those really, so now you've got the ngIf, ngIfElse, and the ng switch, which you've probably used lots of times. But now let's go back to open. So now you've got all of these options. And I think these are the ones that I think a lot of people have been using and seem pretty simple. Everybody knows this stuff. But these down here, I really think don't get enough love because they feel more advanced. But if you have this super easy reference that you can just, you know, bookmark it, ngTemplateOutlet, create embedded view, ngComponentOutlet, create component, like this is it. These are probably the four, I think just like easy, quick reference, cheat sheet kind of, if you want to do some advanced DOM manipulation, you can have these available to you and it's just so easy to go and grab them. Now you've got tiny little working code snippets you can go. I hope this is helpful for you.
I think it is very, very helpful. Thanks. I think what I love the most about it is the details before you open the accordions. You know, all you just have to do is look at what you have, the input you're trying to generate, and then based on whatever description is there, you know what's best for you. For example, you have a show or hide static content. You already know. Yeah. So I'm grateful for this. Thanks a lot, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
Marking this one.
This actually came from, I was growing up in America in the 80s with my brothers, and we had these books called Choose Your Own Adventure books. And it was like these storybooks. We had tons of them in the summertime. There's nothing we could do but read books all the time, right? And run around outside. And the books is like, if you're going along and your hero's having this adventure and you see this like old abandoned building, do you go inside and explore the building, turn to page 37? Or if you just keep on walking past the building, then you turn to page 42 and then you continue on with the story. And I used to love these books. And so that's really where the inspiration for this came from. Choose your own adventure. Choose your own Angular adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rodney knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the 80s, Carlos.
Yes, it was.
I love
You remember
those
Quest?
books.
You remember that game Quest? I think it was called Quest.
Oh, yeah. There were lots of games. So many games. Yeah. All right, I'm going to, does anybody have questions? I'm going to turn my screen share off. So, going once, going twice. All right.
Okay.
Well, I hope that was helpful.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. We really appreciate it.
So maybe I have a question. I'm not sure if it's related. So how does it work with the ngFor? Like, let's say if we have to render thousands of elements with ngFor, is this the suggested way with using templates? Or
okay. Yes. Okay. This is a really good question, right? If you want to render thousands of elements, because this is actually a question that we get a lot. I've had this problem before, and this is where we get into performance issues, right? So ngFor, if you have a very large, like a ridiculously large collection in your ngFor can handle that. Trust me, I've seen some massive apps in my travels, and ngFor can handle it. But what we put inside of that is, there's different ways we can do that. And that's why I say, like, the easy way is if you have a small sample, an ng, like the switch case would be Not a problem at all. If you're gonna, like, I use this switch case in my dynamic forms repo, which is another one from the training. If you're doing a lot of forms, that's actually how Oye and I became friends, because he was like, "Oh my gosh, I need that in my life right now." Anyway, I digress. So I use the switch case in the dynamic forms because I'm going to assume that we're not going to have hundreds of form fields all on one page, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen, right? So it's fine to use that. But if we have lots and lots and lots, that's where I would actually want to go down to the dynamic rendering options, because they're going to happen on the fly. Maybe, and here's the thing, right? You have thousands of things in your ngFor. Do you want, and this is important, this is where let's step away from the code for a minute and talk about architecture. Do you really want to render thousands of items on your page? Because no matter how beautiful your code is, you could do everything right. You know what's going to take the longest? Actually painting all of that crap in your browser. So it's going to be slow. And there are things that you can do.
That's exactly what I'm experiencing right now. I mean,
yes.
And
yes.
when I run the Lighthouse, it gives me the exact same error, like avoid, rendering excessive DOM elements and so on.
Exactly.
So this is why I explicitly asked.
Yes. So I went through, ask me how I know this, right? I've lived all of the things that I teach you guys is because I learned the hard way, because I learn everything the hard way, right? I have to do it myself. I have to do it multiple times wrong before I go, okay, yeah, this is why you don't want to do that. Okay, so we have a little bit of time. So this is actually, I'm giving you we're going from week 3 of the DOM course to week 2 of the architect training, which is performance. And basically, I'm going to tell you the quick version of it. So we've got about 15 minutes left. But I did this, and I have Oye, can you find a link on YouTube to Bonnie Brennan? It's like Need for Speed from ngBE, I think is the name of it, and put it in there. It's a 20-minute talk. It's basically this. But okay, so here's what happened, right? I wanted to show Angular performance on stage. This is back when we were still speaking at conferences, and I was going to a conference. I want to show this cool demo. I want to show this, like exactly what you just said. We've got this ngFor with all of these items, and it's slow. And what I want to do is I want to tweak the code and make a couple of really cool quick changes on stage and show how fast it is. And I was like, wouldn't that be cool if I just fix it on stage and then show it again and it's super fast? And so this is what I did. And I put like 1,000 items in my ngFor. And the problem is I had a search bar at the top. It wasn't lagging at all. With 1,000, I'm showing 1,000 items, it's not lagging. So I had to show 9,999 items in my ngFor, and then the search bar would actually show visible lag. I'm like, perfect. This is what I want to fix on stage. I had a plan, right? And then I did all of the Angular performance tips that I would give you in the architect training course. And at the end of all of that, it was still lagging. I was like, that's not going to be very cool on stage if I go, well, it's going to be slow no matter what, right? No. So I called up one of my GDE friends and I said, what's wrong with this? Why is this still how do I fix this, right? I've got to fly in 2 days to do this conference talk. And here's what he said, and this is what I want you to remember, right? He said, the reason why it's still slow, no matter what you do to your code, is because you're waiting. And if you think about it, you can't see 1,000 items on your page all at the same time, right? Yes, Anna, exactly. So he said, you do the virtual scroll because you don't want to, because Angular is still painting all the way down the page. And every time something changes, it's going to erase it and paint all the way down the page, and you can't even see that. And that's why you're having a performance problem. So there are a lot of things that you can do, but really the virtual scroll, it doesn't have to be the virtual scroll, but Anna's absolutely right. I love Anna Boca. She knows, we go way back. But yeah, the problem is that you really, it's architecture. Do you really want to show 1,000 items on the page? You really want to try to avoid that and try to talk sense into your clients and give them other options like accordions. This is why we have little tricks that we do, or pagination. Yes, exactly, Oye. This is why we have interactive elements on the page, right? So that you're not rendering everything at once. And then, and even if you want to have like a big, large collection with a search bar at the top, if you have a virtual scroll with a search bar at the top, you're still searching all 9,999 items, but you're just not painting them, and that's the slow part. And we talk about this more. We actually do have visuals for this and slides and stuff like that in the premium training, which is starting on February 1st. This is just a tiny little sneak peek without even half of the visuals. There's a lot more code samples and stuff like that, but this is just hopefully helpful for you guys. I thought this was fun. And this is actually, I think, really cool. I always really liked advanced DOM manipulation. Like, I want to be advanced. I love it. Does that answer your question, Hope?
Yeah. I mean, in my case, it's unfortunately unavoidable to not to render. It's the sort of a specific business logic. It has to be there. And yeah, so I guess.
Hold on. You have to show all of them on the page at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's around 1,500 like DOM elements. And I think it's mostly because of I'm using Angular material, and I'm using carts, like vertical carts and drop downs, and I guess it's where the problem causes. I'm not sure if it's related to material or.
No, I'm using Angular material.
I have no idea.
Rodwin, the premium is very beginner friendly. It's basically like all of the biggest mistakes the most common mistakes that I've seen people making in Angular, basically that's what I put. Ask Oye, you can tell them because you've been a couple of people in here have been through it. I'm gonna just give me a second, and I'm gonna try to find that that code for you. The Angular material performance thing, if I can find it.
Yeah, that will be good. Also, I was impressed by the performance of the Google Meet and YouTube as well. I'm not sure if YouTube is using Angular material or Angular at all. But I'm also wondering, even for the simple applications, like when you just create Angular app and install material, it is not that smooth, animations and everything, like here in the Google Meet. I guess now a lot of things are happening when the video streaming is happening. But if you just play around, buttons and everything, there is no FPS drop at all. It runs, I don't know, so smooth. Or maybe it's just Google magic. I don't know.
Okay, you're saying your Angular material is kind of like it's not very fast?
Yeah, like animations especially. Let's say if I'm going to open a drop down, I mean, maybe users are not noticing it, but I notice it. It's like, slightly FPS drop over there.
Okay. I want to say this gently as a friend. There is something wrong with your code because, and I've done a lot of consulting before I started Angular Nation, and this is the thing. This is very common. I've seen a lot of apps that were slow, and people say, "Well, there's a lot going on here, and so we're just doing the best we can." Listen, Angular JavaScript really is ridiculously fast, and I have seen some very complicated pages with a lot of business logic and a lot of dynamic stuff, and if it's architected well and it's written properly, it is crazy fast. So Angular in itself and Angular material are very, very, very fast. They can be when they're written properly. So I would challenge you to see if there's something else going on. And this is the thing that my experience, because I was doing consulting for years, right? That I would go in and companies would say, Bonnie, we need you to build this feature out. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Set me up. I got to download localhost and get it fired up so I could work on, I need my development environment. And as soon as I download it and I start working locally and get it all fired up, and then I go, oh my goodness, why is it so slow? And they're like, oh, well, it's always been, this is normal. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong with it. And I can't even focus because I know it shouldn't be like that. And so then, and they're like, no, Bonnie, we need you to focus on this feature. And I'm like, okay, let me focus on this feature. But then the more we write, the slower it gets. And eventually they always go, okay, Bonnie, you're right. Can you focus on that performance? And then immediately it's like, so much faster. So when I see people with Angular apps that are very slow, I really tell them like you don't have to live like that. And some, I mean, I say that, but I have seen apps with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lines of code. It's not that simple to just fix it, right? But if you're writing it properly, it should be very, very, very fast. So if it's not fast, I think you should investigate. And I would love to see you in architect training. We're starting on February 1st, and week 2 is entirely performance. Like that's all we talk about on week 2. So if you're lucky, you could get some immediate improvements, and at least, so there's some, this is the thing, right? Let me tell you why I actually left consulting and went to training 100%, because y'all, let me let you in on a little secret. If you have a team writing Angular, because you know Angular is complicated, we all know that. If you have a bunch of developers who are writing Angular who don't really know what they're doing, and they have just kind of going along and learning it as they go along, which is how most of us do, what happens is all of your code will usually work. Like you can Google it and figure it out, and you know, go on Stack Overflow and ask a bunch of questions, go on Angular Nation. But the problem is that if you don't know the best practices, if you don't know the strategies, if you don't know how to keep your code clean, and especially if you don't know the performance stuff, then the code works, but the more code you get, the bigger the app gets, the slower it gets. And this is really what I saw when by the time they call a GDE to come in and consult with them, they've got 100,000 lines of code and it's slow. And then when I look at the code, I go, okay, well, now here's the thing with what we see in week 2. There are some things in week 2 where you could actually make a few quick changes if you're lucky, and immediately have a faster app, which is like, it's so exciting, and people just get so nerdy excited, and it's really fun when that happens, because you get to go back to your boss and be like, we just got a 50% improvement in like half a day, right? That's amazing. But that's not always the case. And that's really why I want to do more training instead of going in the back end and trying to help people refactor stuff, because there are some things that you can do wrong from a performance standpoint that's just poor practices, like hard coding everything because you don't know how to make a dynamic rendering component, right? There are things that you can do that will just make it slower and slower and slower and slower. And one of the things is, like, if you're not that strong with RxJS, you could actually make it slower just from little problems, but it still works. It's just slow, right? So yeah. Anyway, I think we're almost out of time, and you've gotten a topic that I'm very passionate about, because Angular should be very, very, very fast. So this is definitely something we talk about in premium training. It should be fast, man.
Yeah, and as an alumni from the architect training, I can attest to that. For performance improvements that we had in our company over time has been smashing. So yeah.
Did you get a few that were like right away that you could just make a couple of quick tweaks during architect training? Now in your company, you also redid all of the dynamic forms after architect training. You refactored a bunch of stuff. Didn't you get promoted, Oile? Like immediately?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah. I remember. Well deserved,
so
my friend.
I can attest to that. So yeah, I agree.
Go sign up for architect training, get promoted.
So thank you, Bonnie, for coming and sharing this with us. We really appreciate this cheat sheet you have given us.
Anytime.
We really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone. I'd like everyone to just please come off mute and just say a big thank you to Bonnie for coming out to share this with us. So if everyone can please come off mute. Okay, thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
It's great to have you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Come on, guys. We're more
I hope you can take that code and look really cool back at the office.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone, for participating today. Before we quickly round the session, since this is our first main Angular beginner session, I think we would like to just take a screenshot and post on our Twitter account. So if everyone can just turn on their video and can just have a screenshot real quick, I really appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have it. Okay, wait, hold on. I think some people came on. Yeah, okay, let me just take that again. One more time.
Come back, Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos, want to see you.
Oh, we got 2 Carloses. Hey, we got 2 Carloses and an Orson.
Yeah.
Anna doesn't want to turn her camera on because her hair is crazy. We love your crazy hair, Anna. It's what our favorite thing. The crazier, the better.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks again one more time, Bonnie, for having us. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hopefully,
Anytime.
yeah, we'll have a couple more meetings, continue to have meetings like this over time. And yeah, you guys should just stay tuned to the events tab on Angular Nation. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.